I'm Ann Simmons for the Los Angeles Times. A week after Egypt's military ousted President Mohamed Morsi, an interim prime minister has been named and a timetable has been set for new elections. But much tension and uncertainty remain. More than 50 people have died in factional fighting, and Islamist supporters of the deposed president have rejected the military's plans for a fresh vote. Cairo Bureau Chief Jeffrey Fleishman has been following events in Egypt and joins me from the Egyptian capital to discuss developments in this fast-moving story. Welcome, Jeff.
Hello.
So, Jeff, just bring us up to date. What's the latest from Egypt? Is there ongoing violence and bloodshed?
Today the violence has ebbed a bit because the holy month of Ramadan began, which means fasting has ensued throughout the country. So things have been quiet, but behind the scenes, a lot of negotiations are going on, and on the streets, the Muslim Brotherhood still has its rally out in front of one of Cairo's main mosques.
Now, I understand that an interim government is in place. What's the makeup of this government, and is the military likely to be able to put together a coalition government?
That's the military is really in charge right now, and it is working with different factions to try to cobble something that the Egyptian public can swallow after more than 2 years of unrest. And it's an interesting mosaic of pieces they're trying to move into place, from secularists to liberals to Coptic Christians to the ultra-conservative Salafis. So all of these pieces are in the air right now and being negotiated with. They brought in an interim president, Judge Adli Mansour, who was head of the Egyptian Constitutional Court, hoping that would give it some gravity and credibility. And that's where they are now, but there are still disagreements going on.
Right, and what kind of timetable are we looking at in terms of a transition? When might we expect elections, for example?
Well, the military says elections will be in 6 months, but the way things have gone the last 2.5 years, timetables are at best just signposts. They're certainly not written in stone. So I don't know if it will come off them. The military seems very determined after its rather disappointing rule after the fall of Hosni Mubarak in 2011 until Morsi's election last year. It wants to be in power. At the same time, it doesn't. It's very uncomfortable being the public face of power, and it doesn't do it very well. So I would think it would want to escalate the transition pretty quickly, although it will remain the power behind the scenes.
Now, we've seen a lot of images from Cairo and from Tahrir Square. What is the mood like elsewhere? I understand that you just took a trip to Suez, for example. What's going on there?
Right. What's interesting in Egypt is how the Egyptian spirit and people have been able to survive this thing. And a lot of it, what you see on TV around the world, are the images of Tahrir Square and other places of real unrest and protest. The rest of the country is just struggling to survive on a daily basis. Many people, despite the loss of personal freedom or the appearance a coup gives about where your democracy may be headed, are really relishing the security that the military, at least in the short term, is providing. If you discount the protest and violence on the streets between the factions, people want security. They want the economy working again. They just want someone to fix it. And at this point, they don't care who it is.
So what do we know about the fate of the former president in terms of, people not really caring who it is in power now? They just care about a good economy and stability. Is the former president still around? What do we know about him?
He's believed to be held by the Republican Guard, so he's believed to be in military custody. Apparently he's been incommunicado. I don't know if he's been speaking with family members or not, but he's certainly been kept under wraps. The military is very concerned that the Brotherhood could really escalate things on the street. So they're trying to really, well, they are clamping down on its leaders and really doing a purge of them, which is very reminiscent of what happened under the Mubarak years.
And Jeff, just to wrap up, what has been the reaction in the rest of the Arab world about this power shift, and how has the US reacted?
Well, as far as the Arab world goes, we're back again on the traditional versus new emerging lines. We have Saudi Arabia and the UAE now committing to this new government because they were very anti-Muslim Brotherhood, because of the Brotherhood brand of populist sort of Islam, for lack of a better term, was very threatening to the monarchies. Now that the Brotherhood is gone, Saudi Arabia has sort of opened up the spigot, and the UAE as well, and that's more in line with how those capitals used to be with Cairo. Qatar, which was really a supporter of the Muslim Brotherhood, is sort of now on the out, so at least in Cairo. So what's so important to remember about Egypt, which is still the center of the Arab world in many people's minds, is what happens here is going to radiate across the region. It is going to affect the conflict in Syria. It's going to reflect what happens in Lebanon. And so that's why Egypt is watched so closely.
We're certainly going to be watching closely also and following your stories, Jeff. Thank you so much for your time today.
Sure, pleasure.
For more on this and other stories, please go to latimes.com.